for something completely different. And, well, not really, not for me, but I'm going to work on an airplane. This is probably the last big airplane I'll build. But for now, and it's a P-51 Mustang, and some of you will remember I got this not too long ago. I bought all the equipment for it, and I've been having a hard time finding the time to work on it. Now's the time, it's the holidays. This is a big Christmas present to me. So let's take a look. So here we have the Mustang, and it's all wood built. This is not a foamy, as they're called, and you know, most of the planes today are foam. This is all wood built, and it has to have a motor put in it. This plane was made for gasoline motors back in the day. We're not running gasoline anymore. We're going to run this big electric motor. So I have to make some adjustments to how this is done. These two rails, normally the gas motor would fit on, and screws would go through here, and the shaft to come out here. And it's pretty easy to install a gas motor in a plane like that, and was designed for it. This kit was made back during the 80s, and a friend of mine gave this kit for me for helping him with something. So it was really cool to get. So I have to cut through here, and I got to remove this, then make a new firewall and get it in there and mount the motor to that. So I managed to get that big chunk out, and the way I have to do it, since it's down in here, is I can't use really any saw or drill that make it easy to do. So I just use the power drill and drill some holes in here and then break it loose. It works. Oh, some progress. As it turns out, I can get a firewall, and I cut this at the right angle. I did this freeform, and it fits perfectly. I just got lucky, you know, let's face it. So, and this motor now does also fit down in here rather well. I checked it with a back plate on there just to see if I've got my distance correctly, where the motor will turn freely, and it does. And I have just enough room for that firewall and some adjustment. So what I'm gonna have to do though, is I cannot get the motor in there if the firewall's in place. So the only way I'm gonna be able to do that is cut a slot in here and drop it down that way. The spinner, this is not the correct spinner. I have a spinner on order. We'll cover that as well as the bottom belly pan that goes here. So there'll be a little opening there, but that's okay, as long as we can get the motor in and out. Here's the basics. Got some bind nuts on the back. It looks like I have the room to clear everything. Motor's turning fine, and it has to go now in here, which it does do, like so. Then I have to glue this in, and then I have to make sure I've got my right thrust and my down thrust, and I can easily do that because I can just get to the screws down there to make adjustments and move this motor around. But this is the basic setup, and I'm going to need some wood in behind here to block this in. That shouldn't be too hard to do, and I probably should check the belly pan, but I think it's going to fit just fine. Okay, we are looking good. Yes, we are. And put that on there. Now it's sticking out a little far, but I'm going to put a spacer behind it, so it's going to be a little off scale. But I needed to do that because I need to get enough of this motor out here to make sure I clear. And I did do that, and this is all going to be just fine. Now, right now it's got up thrust, but once I get that bolted in, it should be fine. So, success. A bit of glue on my hands and a lot of grinding and dust and everything, and we've got really, this is just fitting so well. As far as down thrust is concerned, it has none right now, but I'm able to get very easily to all these screws, so I'll be able to add washers in there and adjust it any way I want. Plus, I can move this way and this way, like this and like this, because there's given these screws, there's slots rather than just straight holes. It feels very solid and all. It's just in with CA, so I'm going to block this in back here with some strips of wood and some more epoxy, but this should be very, very strong. We double check the belly pan clears and that our spinner is, which is not 4 inches, 3.5, or it's a little over that, should fit right where it's supposed to go. Now, keep in mind that unfortunately the spinner is going to be a little bit wider, and I'm further back from here, so that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to put like a piece of wood in here, not a lot, but just enough. Maybe the spinner overhangs, I'm not sure, I won't know till I get it, but I couldn't be any further back or I'd run into problems, so it has to be here. I'm really pleased with that. Looks to me like, let me get this in the stand. Looking at it from the side, a tiny bit of down thrust, and looking at it from the top, we've got actually, it's just zero. It's just zero. Well, maybe a little bit of left thrust, and that's not something we want. But I'll make all those adjustments once I get the spinner, but the firewall's in, and that's going to work out really well. So this is, like I said, for the enemy's plane, but you get the idea. So that's as far as I'm going to get today on that, and I hope you enjoyed something a little different.